Hi everyone, my name is Fiona Bolton and I have the amazing Mandi J Nelson with me again to share some infinite wisdom that she has for you. And Mandi is honestly one of my favorite authors. I totally love her book, and please, Mandi, mention your book at the end of this video, because this video is incredibly exciting for all women who are really struggling with their fertility journey, and they need that deeper wisdom, that infinite wisdom, which is with us at the moment. We just need to learn how to tap into it. And Mandi is one of those amazing facilitators that can actually help with that. So Mandi, over to you. What wisdom do you have to share with everyone today?
Oh, Fiona, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here again with you. Well, what I really want to talk about today, I really want to tap in to some ancient wisdom. I want to tap into some stuff that has been in a wave, if you like, since 1987. And it was originally like it hit the planet around 1987. Well, actually, you could probably take it back to the wild 60s. That was the first taste of it. Woodstock and Love and the Beatles and all the rest of it, you know. So then 1987 was the next wave of that. And then we moved forward into 2012, 21st of December 2012. And really what this movement was all about was leading humanity to live more out of the mind, less out of the mind, and more from the space of the heart. So there's been a massive ceremony that was recently done, beginning of 2020, and 2020 marks that equal vision, you know, our capacity to be able to see clearly. And the way forward, I mean, if we just have a look at what's going on around us, like we can see that the way that we have been treating our planet, Mother Gaia, she needs us to change, and our bodies are the same, particularly as women, you know, so we need to move less out of the mind and more into the heart. So something that I've personally been doing quite a bit lately is when I find that my mind is getting all like leading me off on some story that isn't even relevant to what's happening right here and right now, which happens to all of us, you know, I'll stop and I'll go, okay, Mandi, what would love do in this scenario? And just take that breath and just ask myself the question, like, what would love do? And what love would do, the majority of the time, is very different to what the mind is wanting me to do in that point in time, because the mind's coming from a space of ego. You know, the mind doesn't usually want to surrender, that concept of surrendering. The mind is all about survival. So that's another thing that I've been doing. I've really recognized, as you know, I've been through uncovering a massive trauma for myself over the last, actually since 2020 began, since the 3rd of January. And what's become really clear for me is to make that connection with my womb and to talk to my womb. So a trauma that I suffered, and I did talk about this in my book that you discussed at the beginning, Awakening My Spiritual Heart. There's one of the stories that relates to that, and also surrendering, the concept of Ishvara Pranidhana. So I did some body work that really opened that up for me. And yeah, so I went right back to that space, and I've opened up these beautiful conversations with my womb now. And I'm talking to my womb, and I'm putting, like, I've had some beautiful rose petal baths, and in my mind, I'm putting these roses in my womb. So really creating that beautiful environment. And even more recently, actually, I just did Agnihotra with my partner, John. And in that, I was doing a really beautiful meditation. It just came to me, which I would love to share. I would really love to share with you. So it's really simply just placing the left hand on the heart. The left hand is where we receive, and we place the right hand on the womb. And then from here, we're just visualizing, connecting in with divine light. So we're taking our focus out through the greater central sun into cosmic consciousness, and we're drawing in some beautiful divine light And then visualizing from down from the soles of your feet, and you're connecting right in with the amethyst crystalline cluster, the heart of our beautiful mother. So we're just connecting in with that beautiful divine light, allowing the physical body to be a conduit. And then from here, as you inhale and you feel your chest and your heart space expand, just visualizing the color emerald green. And then as you exhale, sending that emerald green down into the womb space. And the emerald green is the healing and the medicine. And then on the next inhalation, once more visualizing that beautiful emerald green in the heart space. And as you exhale, sending it down into the womb space. And once more, a nice big inhalation, the emerald green. And then exhalation down into the womb space, just healing any trauma. And then on the next inhalation, with your next breath, as you sit here in this beautiful space of the emerald realm, perhaps you visualize the Garden of Eden within the womb, or a beautiful garden if the Garden of Eden doesn't resonate. Some beautiful flowers in there, and see it as being a really rich and abundant space. And perhaps within there you see a tiny seed. And that tiny seed is what you wish to grow within this beautiful garden. And you feel that divine light coming in from source, all the way through the greater galactic sun, from cosmic consciousness, and you call it in, sending down any excess down into our great mother. And just sitting with that for as long as feels good for you. And notice the way that you feel, observing the state of peacefulness and content. And I just feel, for me and for many women out there wanting to call in their beautiful babies, that they could do this as many times a day as they chose to. You know, really utilizing that emerald green medicinal healing, the energy of love.
Yes, I love.
Really,
it's also the energy extension of Archangel Raphael, which is he's helping with abundance at the time. So it's perfect. And you can just really feel how light and radiant the heart and the womb becomes. It feels so soft, like there's less tension there. And I just want to touch on where you're activating that divine healing on many levels with the crystalline structures as well. And it you know, we abuse our uterus in so many ways, our womb in so many ways, anything from someone else taking advantage of us sexually through to extending ourselves being on the pill, for example, and not wanting our period or resenting our period, or having food which clogs our blood, so therefore it's more painful for our periods, because the womb is a self-cleaning organ which just wants to be pure. So we end up turning on it when we just need to send it more love. And that's such a beautiful, very powerful and quick meditation. I love it. I really so much.
Thank you. Well, I mean, for me, now I'm feeling like my womb needs a lot of love, and she wants to be heard, and she wants to be spoken to. And yes, I'm opening up the dialogue there. And I mean, not because I'm choosing fertility, but because I recognize that there's been a gap there. And as you say, you know, definitely that was the root, if you like, of my trauma. Yeah, absolutely. But I feel for many women, the way that we approach sexual interaction is very old paradigm. It's very, for a woman, our uterus and our vagina is the most sensitive part of us, yet the sex that most of us are experiencing is very penetrative driven, which is very hardcore. And I feel like what is coming through with 2020 and this heart-based is a real softening and a different paradigm to the way that we relate sexually as well. Yeah.
And as you keep mentioning, the heart and womb have that connection. So when we can work on
absolutely
our heart and raising our vibration, this is what actually helps with fertility. Because I know that some women watching us will be thinking, this is all well and good, maybe a little bit too woo-woo, but I don't understand how it's going to help me have a baby. But actually, what people forget is that having a baby is a spiritual experience. It comes down to energetics. So when we raise our vibration and we match baby who's hovering already, we match their vibration, it's easier for them to enter. But when we're toxic physically, mentally, emotionally, and reliving perhaps some trauma through the way we're even having sex, it's going to be blocking. So this is such a beautiful way to be open and soft. We feel open and soft, the womb's going to be open and soft.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so beautiful to be with you again, Fiona.
Oh, thank you so much, Mandi. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but we do like to connect regularly with everyone, so this will be regular. But I'd love for you just, before we finish up and before you just mention about your amazing book, which I highly recommend everyone read, it's fascinating. Honestly, a real page turner. I just loved it. And I loved the way you incorporate the spiritual aspect without being woo-woo, where it's all about the codification of yoga and how we can live yoga in our daily life. And it's yoga far more than just the postures that we think are at the gym class. But I wanted to just get you about briefly the merging of the energies of what's happening planetarily, as in on this planet and out in the ether.
Okay. Well, we have just been through, we've just basically had the full moon has only recently just happened, and it was a massive full moon, Leo full moon. I'm sun and moon in Leo, so it was my full moon. And we're in this star sign of Aquarius at the moment. So quite interesting what I noticed within a space of like 12 hours was all of, and of course on the astrological wheel, Leo and Aquarius oppose one another and they're both fixed signs. So what I noticed in the space of 12 hours was all of the Aquarians that are close to me within my life, like there was a bit of a standoff going on. It was really quite interesting. So I don't know how many other people are Leos or Aquarians out there, but it was really quite interesting, to observe. And it was probably only about after the 4th, and there were 6 or 7 of them that this occurred with. After the 4th, within 12 hours, I was a bit like, then I understood what was going on. So, and again, Aquarians, like Leos, operate from the heart, whereas and Aquarians know that's their kind of mantra. I know, and Leos like to think that they know as well. That's why probably there can be a little bit of a standoff scenario. And sometimes what Leos might say can be considered by the Aquarians as the airy-fairy and like, oh, there's no scientific evidence, because we tend to go with the way that we feel about things, heart-based. So that's obviously going to be a bit of a standoff between the heart and the mind. So planetary wise, it's all very reflective of what that ceremony began back in January, which related back to the 60s, back to 1987. And really it is this strong push for humanity to move out of the mind. And I don't mean become zombies, because I could argue that we already are, but move more from the heart.
Exactly. About January 20, new energies of January 2020, which, it doesn't matter when people are watching this video, these energies are in place and they are easy to activate if we want to connect into the heart and the womb, like you've mentioned.
Absolutely. And really, at the beginning of all of this is our capacity to step into the role of the wisdom. So any form of yoga that you practice, and I mean, you know, that could just be your day-to-day practice of yoga. That could just be your moving around in the world. That could be your yoga. You can be practicing observing yourself. So just noticing what's triggering you, what are you smelling at this point in time? What do you see? What are you hearing? Becoming more conscious of, rather than being caught up so much in the mind that you really have no idea about, or on the phone these days as well, that your head's down, that you actually have no idea about what's really, like, you're not in the present moment, you're not present. And that's a very important part if you want to bring baby in as well.
Yes,
to
grounded, to bring in the higher energies, definitely.
Absolutely. And be present with yourself, be present with your partner as well, and make that love making process love making.
Exactly. Sacred. It really is.
Yeah.
You're creating that energetic vessel for baby to come through.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I've
one
also
of my children, we did a beautiful ritual. We had a beautiful ritual that brought my son in, actually. It was a full moon ritual, and it was a kind of like conscious, it was really amazing.
Very powerful too, very connected to spirit. So I know a lot of my clients don't like to tell their children that they are trying for a baby, even though their first child is often saying, when's the baby coming? And I want you to be pregnant, I want you to be happy, I want to have a brother or a sister. And it's great that you actually addressed it to your children and said, you know, we're trying for another one, because incorporating the other children's energies and intent can help to bring this spiritual baby.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I was about to say before, I've created 2 30-day challenges about the womb and about what you've been talking about. So one is called Bloom Your Womb, and another literally focusing on that. It was very, very popular when I ran it a year ago. And there's another one which is about stopping and reflecting, where are my thoughts right now? And how do I bring them back to center? Take a deep breath. And just doing that a couple of times a day really does make a big difference. So I'll be adding that link to the bottom of this video as well for people to access.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. I know people that have set alarms, actually. People that are have recognized, where I've held this conversation with them before, and they've recognized that they're completely not in the present moment, and they have no idea actually about how they're actually feeling as well. They've set like 5 alarms throughout the day and gone, okay, I'm just going to stop for 60 seconds and I'm going to figure out, okay, what do I feel? What do I see? Where am I at this point in time? So if that is resonant with someone that's watching, to really to start to connect in with that capacity that we each have, rather than being the pinball the ball in a pinball machine, you know, that they can really just take that stillness, find that stillness.
Yeah, reclaim their power, come back to center.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Mandi, thank you so much. Listen, before we wrap up, please can you just mention a little bit about your book, so people are aware if they would like more information about where you've come from, your life's journey.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I kind of did a thing. Actually, I did lots of things, and yoga for me has always been the way that I found myself once more. It's basically been a bit of a life raft for me at times, that tumultuous times, different times within my life. I first discovered yoga when I was 8. That's not to say that I jumped on the path and stayed on the path. I would always come back to it. And it wasn't until I hit 40 that I actually made a concrete decision. Okay, I'm not getting off this path. Like, I was questioning myself, saying, Mandy, come on, do you have a learning disability? What's actually going on here? Because for an intelligent woman, why aren't you just staying on the mat? Because you know that your life works so much better when you just get on the mat. And I'm not talking about, I mean, there were certain periods of my life where I did go through, it was a kind of like addictive kind of, I needed to get to that class, but the majority of the time it's been a self-practice. And if I don't do it first thing in the morning, it doesn't happen. So it has to sort of be the hot water with the lemon and then get on the mat. So I wrote this book incorporating the 8 limbs of yoga with modern day stories. So it's kind of like a West meets East. And I wanted people to basically resonate on a deeper level with the philosophy, the ancient philosophy of yoga. I know that there's so many different types of yoga out there these days, and it can become quite confusing. And I just really wanted to put a book out there that most people could relate to on some level. Like, if you haven't experienced all of the stories, you would know someone that has. So it's fairly relatable from a Western perspective compared to maybe going to the ancient texts, which seem, you know, a little bit out there compared to where our lives are right here, right now. Yeah, so I wanted to really put the philosophy back in there so people could reflect upon their own lives and their own life experiences and recognize that they have been on the yogic path, and really bring that, and that they are on a yogic path as well. So yeah, I just find that the philosophy is missing from a lot, and we've been divorced from that philosophy and a lot of yoga that's offered in the West. And I wanted to offer it in a way that it was easily relatable, and share some of my stories, of which I have many.
Yes.
And that's basically, I wrote it in a beautiful house in Copenhagen with my partner John. I was upstairs writing and he was downstairs, and we had the most magnificent view. The beach was like 50 meters away, or maybe 100 meters away. It was our own private beach. And I mean, if you've read the book, you would understand that sometimes, you know, coming down from upstairs from writing, I was grey in colour, and he was just like going, oh Mandy, get in the salt water and cleanse. Because I had to take myself back there in order to be able to write from that space authentically. So yeah, the editing side I found really challenging. When I initially wrote the book, it was a massive purging. The editing side was really quite challenging to go back through that with the editor, because I was again having to take myself back. And yeah, really interesting in that the trauma I've been clearing was the trauma that I speak about, which is from 30 years ago. So my body had frozen that trauma. So just amazing vehicles, incredibly amazing vehicles. And yeah, I feel my whole life up until that point was to write that book. So I've done that, and now that's my kind of gift to the world. It's like, okay, there you go. And now I'm really not sure about what my next step from here is. So it's a little bit exciting, you know. Yeah, I'm going to go and sit in a cave for a month at some point. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and meditate for a month. Yeah, that's my kind of next plan.
Beautiful. Good luck. I know that they do that in Thailand as well. They do the 10-day complete darkness in cave meditations.
Yeah, a friend of mine's done that. That is not exactly what I'm going to do, but yeah, that's the Pratyahara experience. Actually. Yeah, I would love to do that. That really does speak to me. The one I'm actually just going to go and sit in the cave in the Himalayas.
Oh wow.
So yeah, just by myself. Yeah.
Amazing.
So
you know,
might be another book out of that one.
Yeah, you will. And you know, people can relate to the real life miracles that you've experienced, the fun, the extreme, the heartache, the disappointment, the sadness, relationships with different people. It's phenomenal. It covers a lot. And thank you so much for putting that educational, motivational piece out there.
It's an honor and a privilege. to put it out there, actually. And yeah, it's beautiful praise. Thank you, Fiona. Yeah.
Pleasure. And thank you so much for joining us today, Mandi. And I look forward to our next interview.
Me too. Thank you again for having me, and see you next time I'm looking at your beautiful face.
Oh, thank you so much. You take care. Bye for now.
You too. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.